Said something, wish you hadn't, or somebody said something that they wish they hadn't, or something that someone said really changed. Let's just think about things that get said that change how things happen or how they are. I'm just trying to think if you could just think of any one of those things. It could be about something that happened to you in school. It could be something that happened to you in your family. It could be something that happened to you at work. It could be something that was said while you were riding a public transportation vehicle. It could be something that was said over the phone when you were trying to order something, or you were trying to maybe get some customer satisfaction. Just to give you some ideas, some tea maybe. So just think of those times, and just think of any one of those incidents or thoughts. And then to flesh it out for a story, what we would do is we'd say you need 3 elements of 5 senses. A story will have a beginning, a middle, and end, some kind of connection to you in your life. And it needs to answer the who, the what, the where, the when, and the how. So 5, 3, and 5. So to create a story is not that hard, really. But you do need those elements. You do need ingredients, right? So what we're doing is we're looking for ingredients to cook up a story. So in your memory, if you think about that time when something was said, just go back to that memory and sort of imagine what you would see if you had been there. At the other end of the phone, it could be anything. But what would you have seen? What did it sound like? If Ben was giving us the sound of someone else's voice, which also played into mine. Sound, sometimes the sounds of the voice. There might be an odor or a fragrance or something that's important for your story. For some people, those kinds of memories that are attached to our olfactory senses are very strong. A sense of taste, sometimes a sense of touch can help you remember, like how did it feel? What were you wearing? Was it cold? Was it wet? Was it dry? So think about all those things in relation to that memory. And then think about who might have been there. So you may know these people really well, but we don't. So if you were going to tell a story, you might have to give us a little backstory of who they are, who the people are. When is usually a very important part of the story. So if it happened like before you were moved, or right after your parents divorced, or just before you went to college, or before you passed your driver's test, or right after, all those kinds of whens are really important for stories. And where. Sometimes if you just describe a place, a whole story will come back to you, just if you can describe the environment of the story. So after thinking about your memories a little bit, what I'm going to ask you to do is to turn to someone near you, and maybe somebody that you don't know too. So just to turn around to someone who's not sitting next to you, and see if anybody had a memory that they're willing to share without having to stand up here to talk. But if they just want to talk to each other about something that you remembered that someone said, and tell them about it. Okay? So if you guys want to turn around this way, people you can talk to.
I had come to see the play, and I heard about this, and so I came to see this, but I didn't know that there was going to be this volunteer get up and tell the story thing. And they said, yeah, you got to tell the story. And I'm like, Freudian Slip. And someone next to me had this envelope, and they opened up the envelope, and what was inside of it had nothing to do with what they thought they had brought. And they said, wow, Mercury must be in retrograde. Huh. And that's when I said, I got it. All right, so I'm an actor. I do some acting around. And one of the dangers of being a performer and being good at what you do is people do not separate your character from who you are, right? So I was doing this piece, and basically what it was highlighting was really the problem, a big problem that we have here in America, and that's with young girls being trapped into prostitution, right? And I took on the character of this very sleazy pimp, right? And I did it because basically it's an important thing for everyone to know here and highlight this. And one of the things that these pimps do is that they go to like Greyhound buses, right? Greyhound stations, and they find these runaways and they kind of seduce them and say, you know, you're sweet and you're good and I'll take care of you and I'll bring you in. And they have this whole harem of women, right? Now this character was sleazy, but he was charming. Very charming. So after the play, right, where there's a whole table set out food, so you know, I'm sitting there, I'm picking up the food, and this audience member, you know, she's behind me and she goes, so, how much of that is you? I said, well, you know, I'm playing the character. And she goes, but no, really. How much of that is you? And I said, you know, that's the thing. I mean, I think these characters are in everyone, and part of my craft is to be able to bring them out, you know? She goes, well, I really enjoyed your performance. Have you ever had a reading? You mean like a play reading? She said, no, like an astrological chart reading. Have you ever had one done? And I said, well, way back when I was a teenager, well, why don't you come on over? I have a place over in Ashland. And I said, wow, you know, my family's near there, Holliston. It's just like the next town over. You know, I can come. She said, yeah, come. So I said, all right. So some time went by, I was visiting my parents, and then I went over there and I saw her. So I don't know if any of you guys ever had your chart done, but it's lines and circles and connections and triangles and all of this mishmashy stuff, right? It's really confusing. But you got to give them your when you were born, where you were born, what time you were born, all this stuff. And I think now they have like computers now, so all that calculation stuff gets done. So I'm sitting down at the table and, with her, and she sits down. She's got this big chart with all this stuff going on. She goes, okay, let's see. I see that your sun sign is Cancer. That makes you a very sensitive person, someone who really cares for home. I see that. Very good with children. Yes, okay. All right, and I see that your rising sign, which was the constellation that was just over the horizon when you were born, was Leo, and that explains why you're so dynamic and you're really great on the stage. That's wonderful. And I said, and take a look over here. Now, have you ever read that book? She said to me, Mars is for men and Venus is for women. I said, yeah, I know that. She said, well, I want you to keep that in mind. Now, you see this over here? This house is Gemini. And Gemini means multiplicity. Okay? I can tell you've caused a lot of heartaches in this house of multiplicity. Because your Mars and your penis are conjunct in Gemini. Did I just say that? Thank you.
It's hard to follow that act. But he mentioned Ashland, and I taught for 11 years in Holliston in the middle school. And we had a principal who had left the priesthood, and he had decided to become a principal, okay? And every morning we had a member of our student council go up to the office and flip on the intercom and lead the whole school in Pledge of Allegiance. So the principal walked by one day, no student. So he hadn't said the Pledge of Allegiance for a number of years, but he felt that he had to, get in there and say the pledge. So he flipped it on, and we all stood throughout the school, and he said, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And he forgot the Pledge of Allegiance. We had this silence, and then he said, and I pray to God to bless us all, and may we have a good day. And he flipped off the intercom. And I went, what? And we did not see him for the rest of the day.
I'm Linda Gritz, and this is a story that both I and my lovely husband Mike remembered 5 minutes ago as you were inspiring us. It happened to both of us. out, or at least 15 to 20 years ago, or longer. It involved Mike's lovely sister, Mira, and her husband, Joe, who were visiting from St. Louis. And they came and visited. Mike's parents were there. We're all having a great evening and playing that old family game, Trivial Pursuit. Everyone remember? Trivial Pursuit, and around, and you're going for little wedges. And I think he was going, at this point, I think we were playing in teams, and Joe was going for the geography wedge, that little green sort of triangular thing. And he picks up a card and he starts reading. What Russian erection started rising? Well, he couldn't get any further because we're on the... And he picks up the card again, starts again. What Russian erection started rising? Come on, Joe. once okay, but twice is a bit too much. Well, it turned out the Freudian thing was on us because it really did say what Russian erection started rising one summer evening in 1961, and the answer was the Berlin Wall.
This story comes from all these other stories. My name is Vicki Blyer, and this is my earliest conscious kindness at overlooking someone else's mistake. I was in middle school, and I was in the play, and after the play, a few days later, Mr. Brown, the assistant principal, saw me in the hallway and said, "So, how is my favorite lesbian?" And I knew exactly what he meant to say. I knew he meant thespian. and I just said, "Fine, thank you." And but I'm really growing up.
That's great. Thank you so much. This is what we really hope will happen at these little meetings that we have, where people's stories, they hear stories, you tell stories to each other, and then if you feel like sharing them with the entire group, it's really great. And this is what we do at Massmouth Story Slams 2 or 3 times a month, right now until April. Yeah. But especially enjoy the show.